Recording. Okay, so now you see here I'm going to maintain a source list for this material from this period, say to this period, and who are all my vendors. Let me just go /show SE16. I'll go to table INA. I'll give the material. We'll try to find out the vendors. Okay, so here are my vendors. These are my vendors. Okay, so I'll just go and paste it over here. Control Y. Okay, Control C. Control. Come on. Control Y. Control C. Control V. Purchase organization is 77C. Okay. Hit enter. Okay. I go and save it. I have now created a source list also. Now let me go and create a requisition once again. Okay, so now let me go and create a requisition once again. Now you tell me if I go and come on. If I go and create an info record, okay, if I go and create an info record, sorry, if I go and create a purchase requisition for this material, for this quantity, now if I go and hit enter, what are you expecting? Will there be any vendor being picked up by the system?
Yes, it will pick from the source list which we have selected.
Which vendor did I select? Out of these three, okay, so as you said, source list is there, 3 vendors are there. Which vendor will the system pick up?
No, we have to check the box, fix box, then only it will select. Otherwise, it will show again 3 vendors.
Okay.
Sir, this material code
not select anything because you're
not completely.
right, Sundara. Material you entered is wrong.
Yes, sir.
Right? Is that what you're expecting?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Correct. Okay. Good. Okay. Because I did not fix any vendor in the source list, so system has not selected or not picked up any vendor automatically. Now you see, I'm going to fix a certain vendor. Okay. This guy. Save it. Now you tell me, once again I'm going with ME51N, okay, /n ME51N material quantity plant of so and so. Now which vendor will it fix?
Last one.
It's the last one, the vendor which is being made as fixed vendor in the source list. Okay, 305101 is being made as the fixed vendor, so therefore system picks that vendor. Okay, come on. You see here, I've made this guy as fixed vendor, so therefore it has picked up. Sorry, Sudhakar, you're saying something?
Sorry, what it's earlier you mentioned it in info record, isn't it?
Correct.
What is the necessity of maintaining through maintain source? What is the difference what is the advantage you have?
Advantage of maintaining source list?
Yeah.
See, the source list will tell you who are all the source specific material within a given period of time. Okay, for a particular material, you can see at one place who are all the sources of suppliers. Whereas info record is one-to-one relation. It's one material to one vendor relation. Whereas source list is one material to multiple sources. And in that, you can either choose a certain vendor as the fixed source of supply, or in case if you do not want to procure a material from a specific vendor, you can block it also. Not only this, you can use this source list for multiple reasons. For example, even for planning also, to create the delivery schedules automatically, which I was telling you yesterday. I will explain you in MRP. You see here, there is something called agreement. You can give your outline agreement here, and then you see there is something called MRP indicator. So here, if you choose indicator 2, that is record relevant for MRP schedule lines generated automatically. So if I go and pick this up, provided if I give a scheduling agreement here, whenever there is a requisition created for that material, delivery schedules will be automatically created when you run MRP for that material with reference to the scheduling agreement number that you give over here. Okay, so like this, it has got 3 or 4 features. One can have multiple sources, out of which one is the fixed vendor. The other one, you can fix a certain contract or an agreement as a source of supply using source list. And the other one, you can generate delivery schedules automatically for a particular scheduling agreement line item, provided if you have maintained that agreement line item as the source of supply in the source list. So these are the advantages of source list.
Sir, sometimes it so happens that system also picks up desired vendor and fixed vendor. So when that scenario happens,
How can it be, Radhika?
Radhika, desired vendor will be given by the user whoever creates the requisition.
Exactly. Let the system picks up the fixed vendor. Okay. In case if you do not want that vendor, in that case, as a user, you can just go overwrite it. Okay. Choose the vendor from the desired vendor. Right. So system does not pick both. All right. So now you see what is the priority or which document has taken precedence when I have info record and source list.
source list.
Obviously source list. So therefore, let's say if I have 2 sources of, the 2 functions as source of supply, info record and source list has taken the precedence. All right. Now look at here. I'm going to create a contract for the same material, ME 31K. This time, okay, so let me pick up a different vendor, right? Say Sundar Rao. Agreement type of MK, purchasing group NIS, validity period, give some validity period, material something, same material I'm giving, okay, and then target quantity of, let's say, 500, net price of, say, 13 rupees. Assume it this way. Okay, I'll go and save it. Let me see if it picks up any release procedure. In case if it is, I'll just approve the document. Does it picks up any release procedure? Block group G1, but where are the codes? What kind of release procedure is this? Release group G1, strategy S2, release codes to date, no. Come on. How can it be so? Let me just go and see. ME35K. I can simply give the document number. It will ask me this one. I'll just go and see if there are anything. Is this the document number? 87. Okay. So let me just go and release it. Okay, so it got released. C2 document number. Simply go and execute. No, it's not there. Come on, also. Okay. Let me just go and have a look at the contract. Looks like somebody toggled with my this. What is this procedure? It's still blocked. Sure, it's not finding anything over here. One sec. C1, C2.
Venkat, can you check the contract created?
Sorry.
Contract is created.
Yeah, the contract is created. This is the contract.
Right.
But somebody has set up a release procedure on the contract, but that's not working properly. So that's the problem. I'm not seeing it properly. So this is the contract which I have created. Okay, so if I go with this, it says release to date is C1. The document is still changeable with value. Just go to /OSPRO and check the contract release procedures. Somebody has created a release procedure on the contract, but it seems he has not done it properly. I'll just go change or remove it. I'll just take it out. Okay. Contract. Go with release procedure. Okay. So here define release procedure for contract. Release groups. He has done groups here. PO release class explain added over here. Okay. So let's say not giving anything over here. Save it. Miss some changes. Back. Release codes also I'm going to delete everything. Indicator P partially approved, somebody has set it up. Release strategies, no release strategies here. Okay. And now display contract. I'll just go and change this contract. Okay, let's say 200. and then go and save it. Okay, so now let's go and display this document and see if there is any release procedure. There is no release procedure for this document. Now you see I'm going to create a requisition once again for this particular same material which I have been using for sourcing administration. What's the material? This is my material. This is my material. Okay. Quantity of say 25, length of 77C. Now if I go and hit enter, what is that you are expecting? Will the source list being picked up, or will it be contract, or will it be info record? Which one is supposed to be picked up?
Source list which has been checked for fixed vendor.
Alright. What is that you are seeing is source list. That's because you have got a fixed vendor. Okay? Your understanding is correct. Now, let me go and change it. I thought of changing it, but I forget to change. Now, did I save it? It is. Okay. Now, if I am going and creating purchase requisition, okay, so this time with no fixed vendor available in the source list. So what is that the system proposes as the vendor? Are you getting my point? I have three info.
All the vendors.
I have three info records. I have a source list with no fixing indicator maintained against any of the vendor, and I do have a contract. So which one is supposed to be picked up? Or first of all, does it proposes anything?
Yes.
By default, it should pick up contract.
Why it is contract,
It will-
Sudhakar?
Just my understanding is the system looks first into the contract and then the sourcing administration.
But you must be saying with some reason, right? So what is your reason in saying that, in thinking that contract is the one which is supposed to be picked up?
No, that's very basic. I don't know.
There was a reason. Your answer is correct. That's the reason I'm asking you. There was a reason. The system picks up contract. Why? Let's say I'm hitting
Because
it.
in the sourcing list, you've not selected any specific fixed vendor.
Mm-hmm.
So the validation behind creating a requisition is it needs to select the contract probably next the
Okay.
sourcing list. And that's
See here.
how the validation is.
Okay. You see here, it has not picked up any vendor because these things are actually coming from the source list, isn't it? So let me just not save anything. Let me just go into source list, maintain the source list once again. What is the vendor? Singapore, correct? Contract is the vendor. Is the vendor. So he is my vendor. Hitting it. How do you say it? Okay. Let's go and recreate the scenario. ME51N. Okay. So material. This is a material. Quantity of 20. Let's say plant is 77C. Hitting enter. Okay. Does it proposes anything? Ideally, I am expecting a contract to be available here. It's not taking. Why? Let me go and make modification once again for the source list. Okay. For this guy, you have got a source agreement, right? So what agreement? A contract. Okay. You should be having have to enter like this here. What is the item number? Is it 10 or what?
10.
Item number is 10. Validity record is outside. So the contract validity is it outside? That's the reason it's not being picked up.
The contract validity is 2013.
That's
Up
okay.
to 2013.
But we are currently within the period. Okay. Now let me just go on create a requisition. Once again, rerun the transaction ME 51N. Now, so I'm copying the material. 354. Okay, so quantity of 20, plant is 77C. Hit enter. It's still not proposing the vendor. I expect the vendor to be picked up as the contract vendor. I guess it's not picking because
Till we check the fixed box, it won't select, right?
now it used to Pavitra, because you see here contract will have more or higher precedence than the rest of the
No,
documents.
no, sir. It won't select like that. If you check the fixed box, then only it will select.
Then let's say if I fix this one, okay, and then you have an agreement over here. Let me just give me a moment. Though it is not a central contract, I put it over here. I think, yeah. Okay, so just give me one moment. I expected it to be picked up automatically. Correct. This one is correct. One second. One moment. Okay, give me one moment. I got the draft document, right? Agreement start date of this one. Okay, agreement end date of this one. When that is this one. This is the thing. Okay, so here right, prototype MK. This is the document, and this is the item number. I go and save it. Okay, so now let me go and create a requisition. It's not picking. Quite strange. I'm expecting the contract vendor needs to be picked up automatically, because when will you create a contract? When you have uh, negotiated a better terms, therefore you create a contract for a long term. So when you have a long term arrangement with the vendor, or when you have a long term agreement with the vendor, you try to source the material from that particular document first, and then you look after one time vendors or the other info record, or the other vendors where with whom you have info record. So that's the basic logic which I was expecting from Sudhakar when he said contract needs to be picked up as a vendor. Okay, the reason is why contract vendor should be picked up is contracts are created basically for long-term arrangements or long-term agreements. Why? When will you create a long-term agreement? Because when you have a repetitive requirement, and where you have negotiated best possible conditions, so that's where you maintain those conditions in the contract. So therefore, the contract vendor needs to be picked up in the equation, which is not happening in this case. Still not sure why is it not picking it. Okay. But
So shall I say something?
yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
The what you have said, the logic works if the source list is not maintained for that material group, then it first picks the contract, then the second preference to the info record. But we have maintained a source list, then we have to check the fixed vendor accordingly, that will pick. If there is no source list maintained, then it will go for the preference to the contract.
Okay. Now I've deleted everything. Right? Saved it. So there is nothing in the source list. Alright, Pavitra? Let me see if it is working or not. Slash n ME51N. You may be right. I'm not sure. But let me check it. 2077C. But still it's not being picked up. No. I'm not sure why is it not being picked up. But ideally,
Just I will join after a few minutes, sir.
okay,
Got caller.
no problem, sir. So I'm not quite sure why is it not being picked up. Ideally, it is supposed to pick up. Okay, so this is how it should goes. Okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right, Pavitra. So what it will do is it first looks at outline agreement. I thought outline agreement will have the higher precedence than the source.
No, the
So
first
ideally,
is source list, sir.
yeah. So ideally, your source list will have the higher precedence than the outline agreement. Okay. So yeah, in that case, it should work that way. But why this is not
But the source list we have created, that totally it should be blocked, then only it will show us.
correct? You might be right.
Maybe we have to create another material.
Let me see. Do I have anything for deletion? I'll just go and delete it, okay? Plant 777 C. Okay, delete all records valid until whatever. Let me give the futuristic date. Okay. No selection possible. Come on, why no selection possible? Up to Why 2201 here? Two zero one three. Okay, something like this. Invalidate. How can this be?
There is no 31 in June.
Okay. The best option would be this way. Okay. One sec. ME01. Okay. Put it as here. Something like this. Okay. Save it. 200613. Is it 20? That's what I've given. Okay, source list record deleted. Now let's go and create requisition. Yeah, I think so this material. So this is the material. So you have to use it.
ME51, right, sir?
I'm sorry.
You are creating purchase order.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. Okay, so here quantity of 10, 777C. Let me hit enter. It's still not picking it. Quite strange. Maybe I may have to go and create a new material. Only then it will work that way. Okay. Shall I go and create it? Let me see it quickly. Copy from. Just go and create it once again. Okay. Valuation class of 3000 and say price is 10 rupees. Okay, so ME11 and just quickly create couple of info records. Quantity of 50, price of say 10. Okay, and then I have got this vendor, quantity of 50, price of 11. Just go and save it, and I will have one more vendor, quantity of 50 and price of 9. Okay, now one sec, let me go and slash n SE16. Okay, INA is the table where you could see all the info records information. Okay, so I wanted to create, for example, a contract with this vendor for the same material. Okay, so now /n ME 31K. This vendor, validity date. Okay, 355 is the material. Target quantity of 200. Let's say net price of so whatever, 10 rupees. Say save. Okay, so now let's go and create the purchase requisition. /n ME 51 yen. So this is the material. I'll go and create like this. Okay, now you see here Sundaram as being picked up as the fixed vendor, which is actually coming from the agreement, that is contract. Okay, so this is what I was actually trying to show you. Okay, so I mistook it. I thought contract will have the highest precedence than the source list. Okay, now if you go and create a source list, then the item will be picked up from the source list, or the vendor from the source list. Let me just go and
Venkat, you intended to say that, this info record, correct? Your precedence compared to this.
yeah, the precedence will be something like this: source list,
Source list, agreement, and info record.
and out of all these three, apart from these ones, we have got one more thing: quota arrangement, that will have the highest precedence, and then the source list, and then the what you call the agreement, and then the info record. Info record will have the least precedence. That's what I'm trying to prove.
Yeah, I understand.
Just one quick second. So I'll have to use those three vendors. These three vendors. Okay, so here and this one here. With this, you see here we have got this vendor. Okay, now if I wanted to fix a certain vendor from here, I can do so. In that case, even though I have a contract, the vendor which is being picked up from the by the system would be the fixed vendor. Okay, so even though you may have a contract available for a certain vendor, but still if you have a source list with a fixing indicator available in the in the source list, then the vendor which is being picked up would be the vendor with a fixing indicator. Okay, you could see here. Now after this, let's go with quota arrangement. For quota arrangement, you need to understand few things. Let me write them over here, and then I'll explain everything. Where is that? This one. Let's say, do you guys use quota arrangement, Pavitra, in your organization?
No, sir, I don't have any idea about quota arrangement. I'm just first time listening this all.
Okay. I'll tell you what is quota arrangement. You have certain things called quota allocation quantity Okay, and you have something called quota base quantity. Okay, so what we call it as quota base quantity, and then you have something called quota, then you have something called quota rating, which is equals to QAQ plus QBQ, right, divided by quota, right? And then you have something called QAI, which is called quota arrangement usage indicator. Okay, okay, so these are the things that you need to understand to work with quota arrangement concept. So what is quota arrangement? Let's say what happens is, if you depend too much on a particular vendor, there is no guarantee that he will supply the material on time with whatever the negotiated terms and conditions. He may say that, you know, the price got increased in the market, and then you know, it will not work out for him to deliver the material. There will be so many reasons, right? And also, it's not that it's not always advisable to you know, promote only one vendor for your total requirement. So therefore, what the purchasing companies do is they promote a healthy competition between the vendors, right? So how will they promote the vendor you know, healthy competition? Let's say if you require a total quantity requirement is say 1,000 tons or 1,000 kgs, instead of procuring the total quantity from a certain vendor, you distribute this total quantity among these vendors based on certain criteria. The distribution of total quantity among these vendors based on certain criteria. Let's say whoever your L1 vendor, you give him the maximum portion. Okay, L2 vendor, you give him the next portion. Let's say I've got say vendor 1, or rather let me write the names here. Okay, Sudhakar is one vendor, Sridhar is another vendor, okay, Venkat is a different vendor, Radhika is also one vendor. Let's say Sudhakar is L1 guy. Say if he is L1, allow him to supply 40% of your total requirement. If Sridhar is your L2 vendor, ask him to deliver 30% of the total requirement. Okay, let's say Venkat is L3. Ask him to deliver, let's say 20%. And if say Radhika is L4, and then the rest 10% will be supplied by Radhika, right? So this percentage or the portion of total quantity required to be procured from each vendor is called quota. You getting my point? So whatever the things here, percentage quantity to be procured from each vendor, okay, this is called quota. Right? So from Sudhakar, if I am taking 40%, that's the quota that is assigned to him. 30% if I am trying to procure from Sridhar, That's the quota that is assigned to him. So quota is nothing but the portion of the total quantity to be procured from individual vendors is called quota. Then what is QAQ? What is QBQ? Quota allocation quantity and quota based quantity. For that, I have to explain you first, or I have to give you a demo, and then we will work with quota allocation quantity and quota based quantity. For time being, let's see, I've got Sudhakar, Sridhar, Venkat and Radhika. These are the 4 vendors that I'm picking for creation of a quota arrangement. Transaction code for creating quota arrangement is MEQ1. So you go to MEQ1 transaction. Okay. This material, you see here, it says quota arrangement for the material 1000355 is not active. So what is the prerequisite? The prerequisite is /n mm01 or 02. There is something called QAU indicator, quota arrangement indicator, available in the purchasing view. You go into that particular view, you see here quota arrangement usage indicator. Time being, I'm not explaining anything about these indicators. I'm just checking one, or I'm choosing one indicator. You see here, I'm just picking it. Okay, you just hit and save it. So now quota arrangement usage indicator maintained for a material, that means that material is a quota managed material. Okay, that the quota arrangement indicator maintained in the purchasing view of the material specifies that a certain material is a quota managed material. For a quota managed material, you have to create a quota arrangement, right? Now, I'm going to create quota arrangement, transaction code MEQ1. You go with it. Validity from date, you need not have to give it. It automatically takes the system date, that is today's date. Validity ending date, let me give as 1 year, okay, 2013. Hit enter. Now you choose this validity dates and then go with item overview. Okay, now you see here quota arrangement item. This is procurement type. You can specify whether it is an in-house production material or external procurement material. Assume this I wanted to procure it from external vendors, and this is what we call it as special procurement. In case if it needs to be procured specially, use these indicators, otherwise not required. I'm not going with a special procurement material. Now vendors. Who are all the vendors? I said Sudhakar, Sridhar, Venkat and Radhika. Radhika. Okay. F here, F here and F here again. Now you go with Sridhar, and also you go with Sudhakar, and finally you go with Venkat as well. So these are the guys. Now system is asking record not including in the quota arrangement because no quota is entered. The quota arrangement is not complete or completed without entering quota. You see here, who is this guy? 305,102, I think Radhika. Okay. For Radhika, let me give it as 10%, that is 1. Okay. And who is this guy? 2001561. Okay. Let me give it as 2, 3, and finally 4. Okay. So look at here, for 2001559, 40%, you see here, this is called quota. The same thing can appear here in the form of percentage. Okay. So here you can specify quantity of 100, quantity of 200, maximum quantity of 300, and then here maximum quantity of 400, provided if your total requirement is 1000. Okay, so from this vendor, who is this guy? Let me pick it up. 201559. Hmm? Okay, whoever it could be, maybe Sudhakar. Okay, so Sudhakar. Now you see here allocation quantity, base quantity. This allocated quantity is called quota allocated quantity, quota base quantity, this one. Right now both are maintained as zeros. I'll just go and save it. Okay, now let me tell you how the system picks up the vendor. I'm going to write it here. System chooses the vendor. Okay, how the system proposes the vendor, or I would say SOS, source of supply. Condition 1. First condition is system proposes the vendor with lowest quota rating. I would say lowest QR. Okay. Now let me come back to this one, quota arrangement. Can you please tell me what is the quota rating for each of the vendors here? I said quota rating equals to quota allocation quantity plus quota base quantity divided by quota. So here 0 plus 0, here it is also 0. So nothing is there, means 0. 0 plus 0 divided by 1. What is the rating? 0 by 1. Are you guys understanding? Hello? Sundarrao garu. అర్థమవుతుందండి? Even Pavitra and all of them folks.
సార్ ఒకసారి మళ్ళీ చెప్పండి సార్, అర్థం కాలేదు.
అర్థం కాలేదా? కోటా రేటింగ్ అంటే ఇక్కడ మనం ఫార్ములా ఇచ్చుకున్నాం కదండి. కోటా రేటింగ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు కోటా అలొకేషన్ క్వాంటిటీ ప్లస్ కోటా బేస్ క్వాంటిటీ డివైడెడ్ బై కోటా. Right? So here, right now, the allocation quantity is 0, base quantity nothing is available for any of the vendors. So therefore, this is also considered as 0. 0 plus 0, allocation quantity plus base quantity, 0, divided by quota. What is quota? This is quota.
1.
So 0 divided by 1. How much is that?
0 by 1.
Are you understanding? This is quota rating, QR.
Yes.
Okay. So what is quota rating for vendor Sudhakar?
0 by 1.
Anything divided by 0, isn't it?
0.
Anything divided by 0 is 0 here. You see, for all the vendors allocation quantity is 0. For all the vendors base quantity is also 0. So 0 plus 0 divided by anything is 0. So quota rating for any of the vendors is 0. Now what did I said? System proposes the vendor with the lowest quota rating. So in out of 4 zeros, which 0 is the lowest 0? Come on, you guys have to tell me.
All are equal.
All are equal.
All are equal.
So then you should ask me the question. If all are equal, which guy will be picked up? Okay.
Yeah, which guy will be picked up?
Okay. Then, okay, if quota rating for more than one vendor, quota rating for more than one vendor is same, then system proposes the vendor with the highest quota. Now you should tell me which guy will have the highest quota. If quota rating for more than one vendor is same, then system proposes the vendor with the highest quota. So now here
L1.
in this case, all the vendors rating is 0, quota rating is 0. So if it is 0, then it looks for the highest quota. Highest quota is given for this guy, Sudhakar. So therefore, Sudhakar will be picked up in the system. Let's go and have a look at it. I'll just keep this as it is. Now we'll go and create a requisition /n ME51. Okay, material, this one, let's say quantity of 10, 777C. Okay, now you see 305101 is the vendor which is being picked up as the supplier. Why and how? Okay, quota, this one. Okay, 305101. Is it 305101?
Yeah. Sridhar sir.
Yes, sir.
Sudhakar is
3010
one second.
Sudhakar.
I think I still have the source list. Okay, I just have to alter this one too.
Sudhakar 2001559.
No,
సార్
give me-
మీరు కోటాది క్రియేట్ చేసింది సేవ్ చేయలే కదా సార్.
సేవ్ చేయలేదండి ఇంకా.
అందుకే సోర్స్ లిస్ట్ పికప్ చేస్తున్నారు.
One second. What is the other vendor?
1559. 1559.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. Purchase organization.
Okay, let it be. I thought I have saved it. Okay, now I'll just go and have a look at it. Now the quota arrangement, here is it. Okay, so here is the quota arrangement. Let me just go and create purchase requisition now. /n ME51N. So this material, if you just go and procure it, try to procure it. Okay, 777C. Okay, so now also still it's Sudhakar which is being picked up. Let's see why Sudhakar is being picked up. Maintain quota arrangement 301. It has got 300. So ideally this is not supposed to be picked up. The reason that is being picked up because in the source list you would have taken the ticking indicator. You have to remove the ticking indicator. Okay. So now you see, once again I'll just go and use the purchase requisition, quantity of 10, plant of 77C. Okay, so let it get, it's still without, so let me save it. Okay, I'll just go back once again, MEQ1. Now you see here, for this user, allocation quantity has become 10. Why allocation quantity has become 10? That's because of the indicator that you have assigned here. Okay, if you go into material master, you see here under quota arrangement you have given indicator 2. 2 means what? Purchase order, schedule line agreement, planned order, purchase requisition. Any of these records, if you create it, that will be added into the quota allocation quantity. So quota allocation quantity is nothing but the sum of all the quantities or cumulative sum of all the quantities maintained in the purchasing documents for a certain quota arranged material is called quota allocation quantity. Now you see, I'm not going to create any requisition, but let me just go and create an order for this /o me 21n. Let me just pick it over here /n me 21n. Now you see, say for this vendor, who is this vendor? Sridhar, okay, no problem. Quantity of say 15, plant of 77C. I'll just go and save this document. You see here, for Sridhar, I'm going to create a purchase. I have created a purchase order, right, for quantity of 15. Document still faulty. What is the fault? Enter the plant. I thought I.
Price, sir.
Sorry?
Price. Price. You have to enter the price.
No, that's not the price. Give me a moment. Now the price. Okay. I'll go and save it now. See, for Sridhar, I have created a purchase order for quantity of 15. Now, if you go and look into the quota arrangement, the allocation quantity, okay, let me refresh this one. If you go and look at your quota arrangement, you see here, this is Sridhar. Allocation quantity is increased by 15. Why? Because of the quota arrangement usage indicator maintained in the material, wherein 2 stands for whatever, whether it is PO or schedule line or a planned order or a purchase requisition, whichever you create it, the quantity will be cumulated into the allocation quantity. All right. Now, you see, at this moment, let's try to identify what is the quota rating for vendor 305102. 0 plus base quantity 0 divided by 1. 0 by 1, which is 0. Okay. Next, for the second guy, okay, this is 15 allocation quantity plus 0. 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. Then for the third person, 10 plus 0 divided by 3, that is 3.33. And for fourth person, it is 0 again, 0 here, 0 by 0, which is 0. So now I've got 2 vendors having quota rating of 0, first one and last one. Out of this, because these 2 vendors have got same quota rating, system looks for the vendor with the highest quota. Who is having highest quota? This guy. Okay. So therefore, this vendor needs to be picked up right now. If I go and create a requisition, let me just go and create a requisition. /n me 51n. Ensure that source destination box is checked. Okay, so quantity 30, plant of 77C. Now you go and see. Come on, why Radhika? 305102. Allocation quantity for this vendor is 0 plus 0 divided by 1, and for this 0 plus 0 divided by 4, 0. I'm quite not sure. 305102 is being picked up. This is not the vendor to be picked up. Let me just go and save it. Okay. Now let me just go back once again, refresh this. Not sure if somebody is changing something in the standard settings. So here you see the 30 quantity, because I've raised the equation for Radhika. So 30 got updated in this one. So if I now go and create a requisition, the quota rating will be once again calculated while determining the source of supply, and therefore here you can see 30 by 1, which is 30, 15 by 1, which is 7.5, and then here 10 by 3, which is 3.3, 0 divided by 4, which is 0. At least at this point of time, this vendor needs to be picked up. Let me see if this vendor is being picked up now. One sec. Say 10, plant of 777C. It's still not being picked up. The reason I can say maybe, why is this not being picked up? It's only taking these three. It's not taking this one into consideration. Why? Do we have info record for this vendor with this material?
I think so, no.
Data browser. Yeah, the info record was not there. You see here, there is no info record. That 200 or 201559. You see, info record is not there. Sudharagar, మీరు wrongly guide చేశారు సార్.
లేదని చెప్తున్నాను సార్.
లేదని చెప్పారా? Okay. So let me use this one. I thought I have this vendor which is for which I have maintained it. F, enter, I would say 4, and then I delete this guy. Okay.
This is Sudhakar.
I'll just go and save it. I'm wondering, ఇందాక నుంచి ఎందుకు పని చేయట్లేదా అని. This is the reason. Okay. So let's go and raise a requisition once again. /n me51. అక్కడ లేని వెంటనే పట్టుకుని మనం చేయమంటే ఏం చేస్తుందండి అది?
Sorry, sir.
Okay. So here, now you go and pick up. It should work the way that is supposed to. You see here, Sundarav is being picked up. Why? Because of the lowest quota rating maintained for this person. Okay. So 30 by 1, 15 by 2, 10 by 3, 0 by 0. Okay. So now let me just go and save this requisition. I'll just go and save this requisition. Even Sundar Rav's quota allocation quantity will get updated right now. Just go and hit it once again, double click it so that you could see here. Okay, so here it should be 400. Okay, so now you could once again try to determine the vendors. So you see here, 30 plus 0 divided by 1, 30, 15 plus 0 divided by 2, 7.5, 10 plus 0 divided by 3, which is 3.33, 11 plus 0 divided by 4, which is how much? Roughly 2 point something. So now if you go and pick it once again, this is the vendor, 1560 is the guy who will be picked up. Okay, so once again, let me just go and do it. Let's say another 30 quantity, 777C. Okay, you could see same vendor Sundar Rao is being picked up. Now once again, if you can just go back and have a look at it, the quota allocation quantity will keep getting updated for this. So like this, every time when you create a purchase order or a requisition or a scheduling agreement, the allocation quantity will be increased, or allocation quantity will be updated based on, like I said, this indicator. If you would have selected this indicator, quota arrangement usage indicator 1, then in that case only the POs and scheduling agreements and purchase requisitions would have been considered. So therefore you can create your own indicator and then assign that to a material. So based on at which document the check is there, for all those documents the quantity will be accumulated and get updated into the quota allocation quantity. Alright, so now how do I use quota based quantity? The question is, how do I use quota based quantity? Assume it, I have set up these 4 vendors, say in the beginning of the year. Now in the middle of the year, I came to know that there is one more vendor who is offering me at a better price. Okay, therefore I wanted to give him the highest portion. Okay, in the sense, let's say out of 1000 kgs or whatever tons, I wanted to procure highest portion from that person. So now you see the percentages gets altered. How? 1 plus 2, 3, 3 plus 3, 6, 6 plus 4, 10, 10 plus 5, 15. Isn't it? 5 by 15 is 33%. 4 by 15 is 26%. 3 by 15 is 20%. So like this it gets altered. Now if you go and try to create a requisition, which vendor will be picked up by the system? It's always this vendor. Why? Because his allocation quantity is 0. The reason is just entered into the agreement, into the arrangement. So therefore so far no requisitions, no orders, nothing has been created. Therefore the allocation quantity is 0. Base quantity is anyhow 0. Now just because this guy is entered afresh into the agreement or into the arrangement, you should not give him undue advantage. In order to avoid, in order to block this vendor taking advantage of as a new entrant, what the buyer should do while changing the quota arrangement is, you give quota base quantity for this vendor which should be equal to any of these, the minimum quantity available for any of the existing vendors. Now you see here the allocation quantity is 30 here, 15 here for this person, 10 here, 41 here. So if I put some value here in the base quantity, for example 10, now you will have some rating for this vendor, that is 0 in the allocation quantity and the quantity that I have entered in the base quantity, which is 10. So 0 plus 10, 10, 10 divided by 5, which is 2.5, which is better than 0. So therefore the base quantity is a kind of quota allocation quantity which is used to block a new vendor if he is joined in the agreement or arrangement in the later stage, so that the base quantity will help or will block the vendor taking undue advantage of joining late. Okay, are you getting my point? Then now you have base quantity. So once again system determines the quota rating. You see here 30 plus 0 divided by 1, so which is 30. Let me put it this way this time. Let me add it a notepad here. 1 second, sir. Okay, so 30 plus 0 divided by, here allocation quantity 30 plus base quantity 0 divided by 1, which is 30, and then here 15 plus 0 divided by 2, which is 7.5, and then for the third person 10 plus 0 divided by 3, which is 3.3, and then the fourth guy 41 plus 0 divided by 4, which is 10 point maybe 1 or something like that, and then for the last person 0 allocation quantity plus base quantity of 10. So 10 plus 0 divided by 5, which is 2. So therefore, if you now raise a requisition with source determination check, system looks into these quota ratings and finds out who is having the lowest quota rating. This is 2, right? So let's go and create one more requisition once again. This material, okay, say
Sir, for that info record is not created.
and that's okay. 777C. Okay, now you see here this 305101. Okay, third one. Why it is third one? You see, because there is no info record, system has picked up third one. Let's go and create info record for this person. Okay, slash n, I mean 11. Is this the vendor? Okay, say quantity of 50, let's say 11. You go and save it, right? Now you just go and do it once again. ME51M. So put it over here. Quantity of say 20 here. Plant of 77C. You could see here 1559. Okay, so who is 1559? I guess the last one, last person. 1559. Not source list. I wanted quota. Okay, so this guy is being picked up because his rating is only 2, isn't it? So therefore, let me just go and save it. Now, after creating this record, because you have created purchase requisition and because the allocation quantity will get updated, now you see here, you see it is now 20 plus 10, 30 divided by 5. How much is it? 30 by 5 is 6. Okay. If you now go and try creating a requisition, it is this vendor having 3.3, which is 305101. This guy should be picked up. Okay. So this is how you should work with the quota arrangement. Okay. Now you could see here 305101. Sudhakar is the guy who will be picked up by the system. So if you just go back once again, refresh it. Now the third person's quota will also be increased. 20 plus 0 divided by 3, which is going to be 6.66. So this will become 6.66. Now if you go out and try to procure the material, it's still the same 6.66 or the last one. Which one will be picked up? Okay.
Last one is
Last one. Ideally last one. You just go and try doing it once for the final time. You see here, say quantity of 5, 77C. It's the last one, Venkat. Alright. So this is how you have to use quota based quantity. Okay. So quota based quantity, as I told you, is used as a quota allocation quantity in order to block a new vendor if joined at later point of time. Okay. Why are you doing that? Not to take the undue advantage just because he joined late. Okay. So we have discussed about allocation quantity, base quantity, rate, quota rating, and quota arrangement usage indicator, which is just a key assigned to the material master. Okay, the only configuration that is available in the quota rating, in the quota arrangement, is creation of this indicator. You can create your own indicator. Okay, you see here, define number ranges and the quota arrangement usage indicator. So you see here, you will have this 1, 2, 3, 4, X, Y, Z. So these indicators you can create, provided if you want to have your own indicators. How do I? You just go with this. You give some number, whatever number you want it. For example, you want 9. So quota allocation quantity to be updated for, if I create a purchase order, if I create a requisition, only these two, no problem. Only these two you want it, you just go and make it. Okay, I think it's already available. Okay, it's already available. So you make it as 8. Something, it's already there. Okay, it's not there. It got saved now. Okay, so now you can go and save it. Therefore, you can use this one for your material. You can simply go with MM02, MM02, and then you just go with this one, change the indicator to 8. So therefore, when you create a requisition or a purchase order, only then allocation quantity will be updated. Otherwise, for the rest of the documents, be it scheduling agreement or MRP generated requisitions or planned orders, these things will not, the quantity of these things will not get updated into the allocation quantity. Okay, so this is what we call it as sourcing administration or source determination. Okay, so we have discussed about the source list, info record, and the quota arrangement also. How the source is determined, like I said, if quota arrangement is there, it looks for the quota first. If there is no quota arrangement available, then it looks for the fixed vendor in the source list. If there is no source list, then it looks for the outline agreement, that is contract. Even if there is no contract, then only it looks into the info record. So info record will have the least precedence while determining the sources of suppliers, whereas quota arrangement will have the highest precedence to determine the source of supply. Okay, so this is all about the sourcing administration. And then we have got 3 more transactions, or rather 4 more transactions. Do you guys have time? I think I might require another 10-15 minutes. So if you could I will complete this one, or else we will see it tomorrow.
We can make it tomorrow anyways. Just a question on this so far.
Yes, Sudhakar, please.
Take example of depending upon the material attribute value. So just I would like to restrict the like PO creation, only the vendors exist in that particular source list. So how it's going to be triggered?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat your question?
Take example of if my material is critical, my critical material. So
Okay.
that is the attribute which is checked in. So for this material, if the vendor exists in the source list, then only it need to be we can create the purchase order. So if the vendors are not exist in source list, the PO cannot be created. So that kind of based on the material attribute, how we can restrict this PO creation.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, let me put it this way. You have a critical material for which if there is a source list maintained, only then the purchase order needs to be created. Otherwise, system should not allow you to create purchase order. Is this correct?
That's correct.
Okay. As such, we don't have any standard settings for that. But you are saying it's only for a certain material, because you are saying only for a certain critical material. I don't have any standard setting. I have to manipulate the system at the point of PO creation. But if you are asking for all the materials in a certain plant, I have an option in the standard settings. The option is, I'll tell you, there is something called maintain source list. In the source list, you see here, define source list requirement at plant level. If you set the indicator at plant level, for example, your plant is 777C. If you set this indicator for your plant, it means system expects to maintain a source list for each of the material in this plant. If there is no source list, system will not allow you to to source the material. This is for all the materials in this plant. It's not specific to a material, but your question is specific to material, so I do not have any standard settings. So if you want it that way, I have to write a user exit in the PO saying that whenever a material is entered in the what you call purchase order screen, okay, I have to write my own code in such a way that you take the material and the vendor that is entered in the PO, look for the for this combination available in the source list. If it is not available, so a custom message. I have to do it that way. I have to build my own logic depending upon what you require.
Okay. Basically, you need to use the user exit and there is no standard.
Whether it is user exit or some body needs to be identified, and then write your own piece of code.
Okay.
But as such, there is no standard configuration setting for a single material. It is there for all the materials defined in that plant. Plant level it is there, but not at material level.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah, thank you.
In info records, there is a concept called QM info record. So I just want to know in detail what is this QM info record.
Which one are you saying, Pavitra? 1 second. Okay. I'll go with change. So, which one QM info record? Which one are you saying? Where is it?
I don't know where it is here, because when we created some purchase orders, sometimes we'll get an error message called QM info record. So I want to know what is that message.
I'm not aware of the QM info record. Info records are of 4 types, which you can see it from here. Standard info record, subcontracting info record, pipeline info record, and consignment info record. These are based on item category, which we use it in purchasing documents. Other than this, in case if you see, we'll have to look at your system if they have customized anything like that. To my knowledge, as far as my work experience goes, I have not seen any info record of type QM, quality management.
Yeah.
I will have to see it in your system, whether it is a custom field or a standard one. Let's say when you receive the message next time, when you look into the system, okay, if you see anywhere QM info record or something like that, I mean to say the field, keep the cursor on that field, go with the F1, and then go with technical information. You see here something like this. Let's say if the vendor, I'm clicking my cursor on the vendor field. If this is your QM info record field, click on F1. Okay, then you see some documentation. If it is SAP standard field, you would see documentation like this, and then you click on this technical information. If it is a standard field, SAP field, you would have seen alphabets like A to X. If it is a custom field, then it would start with Y or Z. So with that, you can say whether it is a customized activity or a standard activity. To my knowledge, I assume it is a customized one, but unless and until we see it, we cannot confirm it.
Venkat, most probably the QM info record and document info record, they are the typical info records for various this thing, nothing to do with vendor, this purchase order related category.
Mm-hmm.
So you can create a document info record also, correct? Similarly, the quality management info records also can be created.
What do you mean by document info record, Susan?
No, that is for document management purpose they use, nothing to do with purchase.
Material.
Yeah.
I don't see anything here. I know there is something called BOM. Bill of materials are of different types. Material
Yeah.
BOM, document BOM, equipment BOM, location BOM, something like that. But
They are the bill of material types actually.
they are bill of material types. But she is asking about info record.
Yeah.
So which I am not aware of. Maybe document level, I don't know. I've never come across, but you may be right. I don't see anything like that. If it is there, it should be available here. Not sure, Pavitra. Maybe Sridhar is right.
Maybe I'll check that whatever you said, the technical information, and maybe I'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, please.
And because the system doesn't allow us to create a purchase order till the QM info record is updated.
Uh-huh. So what actually QM info record does? Do you maintain price or what? What exactly do you do there?
We don't do anything, because if that error message comes, then we'll inform the requisitioner that we are not able to create a purchase order because of this. I don't know what they'll do, and they'll reply to us, now you'll be able to create a purchase order.
So we're not sure then. At least if we know
That is
what
the
activity are they performing when you get that message, then probably we can visualize.
Yeah, I also want to know what activity they do. That is the reason I was asking.
Then I'm not sure. Yeah, please check it once and then we'll see. I'll also try to find out if there is anything like QM info record. Okay. All right, then let's stop it for the day, and then we have got some function at our house tomorrow. So although it's not yet confirmed about the timing, so in case if it is to be happening in the morning, then I may not be able to take the class. I'll let you know by evening. I'll drop you an email. If you don't receive any email from me, that means there's no function, so we'll have the class tomorrow. If I send you an email, that means we will not have class tomorrow. And how about Sunday? Do you guys available for Sunday? Or,
No, Venkat.
okay. All right. So Sunday strict no. Saturday I will let you know by end of today.
No problem. So the main thing is, Venkat, this is for the quality info record.
Mm-hmm.
The quality assurance agreement or vendor release is required. At the time, they are going to create a quality info record.
What does it contain, Sridhar?
The quality assurance agreement. So it has nothing to do with whatever the info record we are creating related to the vendor. It is basically for.
Is it like a certificate?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Quality certificate and analysis like that.
I know there is one thing. What happens is, okay. So let me. Okay. Let's continue the recording. Not a problem. See, if QM module is activated or integrated with MM module, what happens is, for each of the material, you have to maintain the QM view also, wherein you do something called, you maintain something called QM view. In that, for each material, you have to assign inspection plan. When the inspection plan is assigned to the material master, at the time of receipt, after you do goods receipt, the QM module will be triggered, and the inspection plan triggers. Therefore, the QM order, or what we call it as a usage decision, needs to be taken. So the usage decision means, is the material is up to the quality or not? That needs to be taken. And once the usage decision is taken, only then the further thing takes place. So that usage decision and all, I'm aware of it, inspection plan, those things. But this QM info record, I'm not sure. I will also check with my colleagues, and I'll try to see if there is anything available in the web.
This is quality. One minute, sir. Quality maintenance ఉంది కదా ఇప్పుడు, quality QM. జనరల్ ఇది ఆల్కలైన్స్ లో కూడా సర్టన్ స్టాండర్డ్స్ మెయింటైన్ చేస్తారు సార్. కెమికల్స్ లో సపోజ్ ఒక కాస్టిక్ సోడాలే ఉంది, దాని కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ దిస్ మచ్ పర్సంటేజ్ అని ఉంటుంది. దట్ ఈ ల్యాబ్ వాళ్ళు చూస్తుంటారు అది ఎక్కువగా.
ఓకే, అది మీరు ఎప్పుడు చేస్తారు? మెటీరియల్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత కదా?
After receipt of the material, sample will be collected and analysis.
That's fine. That I can do it at the time of receipt using batch characteristics. Using batch management, I can do that one. But what you call QM info record. Info record then manaki purchasing conditions. Okay, purchasing conditions maintain cheyadaniki. ఈ QM info record అంటే క్వాలిటీ కండిషన్స్ ఏమన్నా దాంట్లో మెయింటైన్ చేస్తారా? మెయింటైన్ చేస్తే ఎలా చేస్తారు? Which transaction code needs to be used? That I wanted to know.
Yeah, as for the definition, if a quality assurance agreement or vendor release is required for material, we must create a quality information record.
Okay.
The quality info record determines how the material can be processed further. So usage is when a quotation or purchase order is created, the system checks whether the quality info record is required and available for combination of material and vendor.
You will have to see it, and నేను ఒకసారి ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేస్తాను, నాకేమన్నా దొరుకుతుందేమో. I'll cross check with my colleagues and also ఒకసారి వెబ్ లో కూడా చూస్తాను ఏం దొరుకుతుందేమో. In the meanwhile, మీరు ఒకసారి చెక్ చేయండి పవిత్ర.
అండ్ సార్ అది యూరోజిన ప్లాంట్ గురించి అడిగాను కదా సార్, వాట్ హ్యాపెండ్ అబౌట్ దట్?
లేదు, నేను చూడలేదండి. నేను చూస్తాను డెఫినెట్ గా. ఇక్కడ రాసుకున్నాను కానీ బట్ చూడటం కుదరలేదు. ఇదే కదా యూరో ఫర్ ప్లాంట్ 999.
యా
సరే, నేను చెక్ చేస్తానండి. నాకు కొంచెం టైం ఇవ్వండి. ఐ వాస్ లిటిల్ బిజీ. దీంట్లో అప్డేట్ చేసినవన్నీ కూడా ఎప్పుడోసారి చూసి మీకు చెప్తానండి. ఇమీడియట్ గా చూడలేకపోవచ్చు. నేను చూస్తాను ఈ వీకెండ్ ఏమైనా కుదిరితే కనుక డెఫినెట్ గా చూసి చెప్తాను మీకు. ఓకే, ఆల్రైట్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll let you know by evening.